Hello again, or if you're new with us, welcome to the Decanting Club. This week's wine is a South African red from the Swartland region, which in just 10 years has risen from obscurity to be the most fashionable area in South African wine. This one is made from Shiraz. Incredibly, this is the first pure Shiraz we've ever done after almost a year of Decanting Club. It's a funny name, Shiraz. It's one of the great international varieties, originally from France, like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and Chardonnay. But unlike all the others, it's not known by its French name. In France, they call this Syrah, and it definitely came from France, and almost certainly from the northern Rhone Valley, where it's the great use to make wines like Hermitage and Côte Rôtie. But when the Australians planted it at the end of the 19th century, they called it Shiraz, and the rest of the world followed suit. If you see the word Syrah on a non-French label these days, it's a code that the winemaker is striving for that cool climate, northern Rhone style, rather than the hot climate, more alcoholic style associated with Australia. This one is labelled conventionally as a Shiraz, but we'll see whether that's correct when we taste it. As befits a Shiraz or a Syrah, it's a deep, dark red, although perhaps not quite as impenetrably dark as some. This is nearly 4 years old. It's a Southern Hemisphere 2013, so it'll be having its birthday in a month or two. And that may have taken some of the edge off the colour. It's certainly taken away the purple tinge that this wine would have had when it was young. Now that smells like Syrah. And yes, all Shiraz, but more Syrah. There's something definitely Northern Rhone about this scent. It's all smoke and spice laid over berries, both blackberries and red berries. It's got the usual Shiraz blackberry fruit, but there's also ripe raspberry in there as well, which is a bit Northern Rhone-ish. The spices on this are black pepper, aided by a little bit of something sweeter like cinnamon or clove. There's also a touch of mint, another Northern Rhone thing. There's some quite prominent oak on this, with very smoky and a bit vanilla-y, but that's started to integrate nicely into the wine now, giving rise to some tertiary aromas associated with maturity. Classy cigar box, and something papery too, like newspaper or old books. It smells a lot better than it sounds. Oh gosh, that's dense and concentrated, but freshened by some surprisingly good acidity, especially for a New World Shiraz. The flavour is great, but it's really hard to put your finger on exactly what it is. It's well integrated, so nothing stands out. Dark berries for sure, and they're given a bit of an edge by an intriguingly exotic hint of blood orange, which is very Northern Rhone, something I've only really detected before on wines like Côte Rôtie. This is full-bodied, but it's not as big and heavy as you might expect for 14%. There's no jamminess or hotness going on here. Quite elegant, really. The finish is very spicy, and it's here that the stealthy tannins start to make themselves known. It takes a long time to notice them. There's quite a lot of them, but they're really velvety and ripe. And they give the finish a slightly bitter and sour edge that is beautifully balanced by a seam of sweet raspberry that also comes through on the finish. This is really classy stuff, and it is very Northern Rhone. This could easily pass for, say, a Cornas from a ripe vintage, although it is a bit more oaky than most of them. If I'd been writing the label for this, I would most certainly have called it a Syrah and not a Shiraz. At 4 years old, it needs to be 4 years old. The hard edges are rounding off, and the fruit and the oak are starting to integrate nicely to generate some real complexity in this. It's only going to get better for a year or two, but there's no reason not to drink it now. delicious stuff. And if it were a Cornas, like it tastes, it would cost more than twice as much. So this represents terrific value. And a really textbook example, not of Shiraz, but of Syrah. So cheers.